Well, the chairman of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, gave his speech this morning, and I'm telling you, it's exactly what most people predicted that he was going to say. So what is it going to mean for the rest of the index markets as well as the crypto market? Because it was as hawkish as people said it was going to be. But I'm going to be talking about some of the more interesting points that some people might have missed and how it could relate to cryptocurrencies, what's happening this winter, this fall, in the Bitcoin halving. Speaking of the Bitcoin halving, there is some major news regarding the SEC versus Ripple and Chris Larson and Brad Garlinghouse, its executives, in which the SEC is still going after and still might attempt to appeal the fact that Ripple was trying to make some sales of XRP that they shouldn't have been. But there's something very interesting going on about that case. I'm going to tell you about the time frame as well as the lawyers that are looking to get out of it altogether. And stick around to the end of this video because I'm going to talk about a conspiracy theory that's going on right now regarding the BRICS Summit. And if you don't know what the BRICS Summit is, it's basically a whole conglomerate of nations seeking to get out of control of the United States dollar. Hey everyone, my name is Randy. Welcome back to the Late Night Grind. Right now on this YouTube channel, we are covering cryptocurrency news, investment markets, and personal finance. So if any or all these topics interest you, go ahead, hit that subscribe button, join the Late Night Grind community, and if you do a couple things, I'd appreciate it. Smash the thumbs up button and watch this video all the way to the end, and also bear with my horrible voice today. If you do all those things, I'd greatly appreciate it. All right, guys, let's jump into it. But before I jump into all those topics, I did want to mention one thing. In the description down below, there is a link to Fairdesk where you can begin copy trading or trading on your own. This is where you can link your account, deposit some of your favorite cryptocurrencies into Fairdesk, and you can link your account to me, and whenever I make trades, it will make the same trades in your account. You don't have to follow me. You can follow many other top tier traders as well. There's some exclusive bonuses, and if you don't know how to do any of that, I'll link a video up here. You can go see a full tutorial on how to start copy trading, which is basically a passive way to do some crypto trading and increase your holdings. And full disclosure, they are a partner of Late Night Grind. This is a sponsored video. Okay, so let's dig into what Jerome Powell just said earlier today when he gave his speech from Jackson Hole, Wyoming, regarding what the United States Federal Reserve has to say about interest rate hikes, about inflation, and their battle with it. Well, he basically took a stance that many people thought he would. He kind of went down the center. He didn't want to sound too hawkish because as of right now, the debts that all of these interest rate rises and all these interest rate hikes are creating, well, that debt is becoming unsustainably high. So if he's too hawkish in his rate hikes or his promise to raise rates, well, things could get really bad really fast and get out of hand. The other part is he didn't want to sound too dovish, which means he didn't want to go ahead and say they were going to start cutting rates or even pausing rates because inflation is still too high. Not only that, it's actually slightly increasing from some of the numbers that he went over. Now, it wasn't all bad news. There was a lot of numbers that are still continuing to drop, and there's some other numbers that he alluded to that the interest rate hikes have not had a full impact on yet. Thus, he thinks that inflation is going to continue to drop lower. However, he did say what is probably going to happen, and this is paraphrasing. You can go watch a 15-minute video, and I'm sure there's tons of clips up on YouTube, that he thinks that keeping rates higher for longer will actually have a better effect. Meaning, rather than just continually raising rates until there's a huge spike and something catastrophic happens, that they will just continue to keep rates where they are and don't plan on doing any rate cuts for the foreseeable future. Now, some people think this is good news. It kind of signals a pause. In my opinion, it looks like there's going to be one more rate hike at least in the coming future for the United States Fed. In my opinion, that's going to stay there for a while. There are some analysts, especially in the crypto community, that are predicting that he's going to start lowering rates, that they're going to have to start quantitative easing and maybe even printing money again because things could get really out of hand. I don't know if I'm in that camp right now, but that rates are not going to be dropping at any time soon. So let's talk about that. What would happen if there is one more rate hike? Well, that's probably going to be bad for the market, and it's probably going to push it lower, specifically cryptocurrency. In fact, there's one analyst that said Bitcoin could see $10,000 by the end of the year if we see one or even two more rate hikes. I don't know if I'm in that camp, but it is highly unlikely that we're going to see a big bullish move in Bitcoin, at least in my opinion, based on some of this market analysis. In past cycles, some of this analysis that Bitcoiners typically do makes a lot of sense. However, this is the first cycle where the United States and many countries around the world have had raised interest rates, like really high interest rates. And not only that, really high interest rates that went from almost nothing to really high very, very quickly. Bitcoin, since its existence, has never seen that. All right, so what could happen if there's an extended pause in rate hikes? Inflation gets down to 2 to 2.5%, which is Jerome Powell's target. and then they start talking about lowering interest rates. Well, you could be looking at some big time market index advances, specifically in risk on assets, such as the crypto world. Well, Bitcoin typically sees its bull run start after the halving or near the halving. At least that's what some analysts say. So after an extended period of rate hike pausing and people getting used to the new normal of whatever these prices are, let me know in the comment section down below if you think that time frame could actually spark an upward movement in the crypto prices, specifically in Bitcoin. And now I'm going to talk about what's happening with Ripple versus the SEC, because yes, part of that case is still ongoing. XRP, the case is done and over. It is declared a non-security digital asset. Some people say the SEC is trying to appeal that. They are not, nor can they. That is off the table. They're going after Chris Larson, Brad Garlinghouse, and Ripple and some of its sales of XRP, not XRP in its clarity. Well, recently the SEC and the executives of Ripple had to give a time frame of when they'd be available to go to trial. Well, they all submitted their dates, and it looks like there's going to be the start of a trial. Guess when? That's right, April 20th, 2024. Do you know when that date is? That is the exact date that the Bitcoin halving is actually going to happen. Now, there's a couple caveats I wanted to talk to you about, because the start of a trial does not mean the conclusion of a trial or even a decision. And that decision really just involves Ripple, not XRP, and not really the crypto community as a whole, like we were waiting for with the conclusion of is XRP a security or not. And the Bitcoin halving doesn't necessarily mean that Bitcoin starts its bull run, even though there are some similar correlations in other cycles that the Bitcoin halving was the start of a bull run. We're going to have to see how this all plays out. But the timing of the interest rate potentially being paused or even cut by next spring, Ripple and the SEC finally ending all of its cases, and the Bitcoin halving all happening around the similar time frame is going to be very fun to watch. And one final note about the SEC and Ripple case. There has been 3 lawyers from the SEC side that have filed motions to leave the case. Now, Judge Torres has actually approved 2 of them, one of which was on a medical leave, and from covering the Ripple versus the SEC case over the last 2 years, I found out that lawyers come and go for generally different reasons. Although some commenters on X/Twitter believe that they are simply trying to flee a sinking ship and they don't want to be on the wrong side of history and another losing case against Ripple. All right, finally, I wanted to wrap up this video by talking about a little bit of a conspiracy theory talk. This one involving the BRICS nations. Again, if you don't know what BRICS are, it's basically a group of nations that have recently had a summit, and they're coming together to do a lot of different things, but specifically to find a way to get off of the dollar dominance, de-dollarization as they call it. Now, there's been a lot of speculation that they're going to be using cryptocurrencies or decentralized ledger technology to get themselves off of the dollar. Now, whether or not they're actually successful with that, there's some very interesting documents that have cropped up, even on the BRICS website itself, that mention cryptocurrencies, distributed ledger technology, and yes, XRP specifically. This is where some of the major conspiracy theories have been coming up, because when there's actual documentation of those countries actually speaking about this, well, that's where some of those kernels of truth start to seep in, and people start calling for $20 XRP in the coming years. But let me know in the comment section down below what you think about Saudi Arabia and several other countries joining BRICS. And yes, Saudi Arabia and its Saudi British bank actually partnering with, guess who? Ripple, to use its on-demand liquidity for cross-border payments. It's all in the documentation. All right, guys, I want to thank you so much for watching this video and for dealing with my voice this entire video and watching it all the way to the end. Thanks for smashing the thumbs up button, and as always, I'll see you guys on the next video.